Go ahead. You're all set.
Oh, all right. All right, cool. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I'm going to call a roll. We're going to take attendance. Welcome. This is Mark Allen, for the record, Chairman of the Arts Commission, and calling out to Brian Casper.
Brian Casper, voting member.
Thanks, Brian. Elizabeth Tardif.
Elizabeth Tardif, voting member.
Welcome. Stephen Rust.
Steve Rust, voting member.
Thanks, Stephen. Ava Jacobs.
Ava Jacobs, voting member.
Thanks, Ava. Bob Abriola.
Bob Abriola, Vice Chair, voting member.
Welcome. Melissa Matuska.
Melissa Matuska, voting member.
Very cool. And Heidi Alterman. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
Nice to see you. And okay. So we're going to jump right into it. Going back to November, that was the last time we met, and we have to review the agenda and approve that. Did anybody have any issues with the agenda from November? I reviewed it today. It was good for me because it reminded me of a lot of things that we talked about when we last left off. Did anybody have any issues about that or questions?
No issues from me.
Did everybody get the email and have a chance to review it? It was with the agenda for today. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as noted from November 1st?
I'll motion to approve it, Mark.
All right, thanks. Is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, cool. So we'll roll through the vote again. I'm going to vote to approve it, and I will turn it over to Brian Casper for a vote.
Brian Casper, aye.
Thanks. Elizabeth Tardif.
Elizabeth Tardif, aye.
Okay. Stephen Rust.
Steve Rust, aye.
Okay. And just to be clear, if you weren't present for November 1st, you shouldn't be voting today. So just, okay. And next we have Ava Jacobs.
Ava Jacobs, aye.
Okay. Bob Abriola.
Mark, I don't think I was in that one.
Okay. So you'll
I'll
abstain.
abstain. I'll abstain.
Melissa Matuska.
Aye. Melissa Matuska.
Okay. And Heidi, I don't believe you were there. So you would have to abstain. But the ayes will carry and the minutes are passed as noted. Okay. Moving ahead in the agenda, we can jump right in, turn it over to Brian for the exciting art project that's happening right now. And we'll take it away, Brian.
Okay. Sabrina might have to jump in a little bit here and fill in on some of the background, but basically between last meeting, or I guess between what should have been December's meeting and now, a grant possibility has come across Sabrina's desk for public art in our town. It's through the Bloomberg something grant.
Bloomberg Philanthropies. Yeah,
there
you're all
it
good.
And basically between Sabrina and Jess? Is it Jessica?
Jess, yep, Jessica.
Jessica in redevelopment, thought it was a good opportunity to use this as, one of the main to try to find money for one of the main gateway locations in our town, and that being the West Avenue retaining walls, the one that currently has the yellow sculpture that says hello in many different languages. Before anyone starts jumping in on their opinions of the yellow sculpture, it will be moved, not destroyed. That location is TBD. I think that's kind of up to redevelopment. It was sort of their baby back in the day. So anyway, Sabrina came to me with this, and was basically saying, do you think we could make this happen? Put out a call for proposals in a matter of a month's time, and here we are. So we put out, as many of you know, you were all in the emails, we put out a call for proposals in December, right before the holidays. Super tight turnaround, but we had about 80 applicants. Of those 80, I would say, you know, I narrowed it down to about 20, mostly based on merit as well as some based on concept. Further narrowed it down to about 7. And then the infrastructure committee met last week, and we are delighted to present, if y'all remember, Ernesto Aranje and Sunny Bayhan collaborated on a proposal and presented one to us. I am thrilled to see them back. As many people know, it was a really tough decision last time around with the Monroe Street underpass. So I was very excited to see them come back with a proposal and to do it together, so we didn't have to decide between the two of them. So I think, Sabrina, unless there's any major points I missed, I want to present the, you know, sort of winning proposal and let Ernesto and Hillary speak about it a little bit. That's the strangers you guys see in the Zoom window here.
Sure. I just wanted to mention really quickly. So I did increase our capital budget ask for the Art in Public Places program to meet the match for the sheer, you know, scale of the wall. I included the full project amount. So if we do get the grant, yay, and we'll only use half of the request. If we don't get the grant, hopefully we could still move forward with my ask. And that is, you know, we just had our first budget meeting in public tonight before this meeting. So I don't know if it'll be approved in the back end. But that's kind of where we're at, is that we're hoping that regardless of us getting the grants or not, we'll still be able to either, 1, raise the funds to be able to pay for it, or 2, just pay for it out of capital funds. So I just wanted to keep you guys in the loop on that. But other than that, go ahead, Brian. I think that's it for me.
So before I jump here and toss the proposal out, I do want to mention that the timeline on this is super tight. This is considered a sketch, although a very professional looking sketch, I will say that. But in terms of some of the content and some of the finer points of the mural, I think it's expected that there will be revisions, but we needed to have this visual in order to apply for the grant. So there is room here for feedback, but not necessarily tonight. And if you remember, both Sunny and Ernesto work relatively intuitively in their work as well. Just something to keep in mind. Nonetheless, it's a damn good proposal, so we'll be all right. Let me just pull up my. Go ahead.
Brian, was there a concept that you left it open to? And
so yeah, the big ask, because this is such an anchor in the city, is that it was related specifically to Norwalk in whatever that means for people's artistic points of view. I would say the majority of the work that we did receive from proposal we did receive were sort of realism, often using some historical references, wildlife, things like that. That was, I would say, the bulk. There were a few others that were a little bit more conceptual, based on cultural heritage and things like that. But for the most part, what we saw was, you know, people just leaning into the history of our place. Let me, hang on a second, give me just a moment here.
Brian, while you're calling that up,
yeah,
I just had a question, and I'm part of the infrastructure. Sorry if I didn't ask you before, or maybe Sabrina, you can help. The wall that's selected and moving, you know, that current structure or sculpture out of there, how did that come about? Where that actual wall was selected, and then the cost to move that and all? What was the background on that part?
I quite literally couldn't respond to that. I'm not sure why that wall was chosen originally. I think it was because it was a gateway to Norwalk, and it says hello in different languages to welcome people to the city and to the downtown. The redevelopment agency spent a good chunk of money on it. I believe about probably almost, 8 years ago now, I would say, maybe even more. And the redevelopment agency is going to be paying to take it down and move it. not only did we want a piece here that was more welcoming, inviting, and noticeable, but we've run into the issue where the maintenance of the shrubbery on top of the wall hasn't been taken care of. So most of that piece has continued to be covered and covered and covered again, and nobody's cutting it back. So you can't even see a good portion of it. Also, this project, we included both of the highway underpasses. So if you were to go down there, it doesn't even touch the highway underpasses. It's just the wall in between. So this piece will span, you know, a larger area.
Yeah, no,
as
I know,
well.
I know. I was
Yeah.
just, you know, yeah, there's an it's a great wall. It's a great gateway
Yeah.
wall. That there's a piece of art there that cost a ton of money that we're gonna move and put elsewhere. So I'm just, seems like an expense that, you know, but if they're gonna cover it, they're gonna cover it. So
Yeah, the
wanna
redevelopment
prevail.
agency owns the piece. So they'll be taking it down and paying for it to be taken down and paying for it to get reinstalled wherever that location ends up
Right.
being as well.
and then
So that's
maintenance
not on
going-
us.
The whole maintenance issue will go away, like we paint this wall and there won't be any maintenance issues going forward.
Yes, because we are going to have a maintenance operating agreement in place. We currently do. We can't find it. City
Okay.
Hall 101. But there is going to be a maintenance agreement in place so that we as the city can go and do the shrubbery instead of having to go to the state to do it. So we'll be able to send a team out, like our neighborhood improvement team or DPW, to go and really cut it back if we need it to, instead of just letting it kind of fester as it is now.
Okay, all right. Sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to jump right.
Yeah, I'd like to
All good.
interject as well. Sorry to cut you off. You know, my original thought on that, Vine, was like that there should be part of a decommissioning process to it because it is Norwalk owned public art. But then I sort of remembered the fact that the Arts Commission was not a part of commissioning it to begin with. So maybe it's not appropriate that we would have to decommission it. But Sabrina, just a thought for the future. I sort of feel like any other city agency or entity that would be commissioning or could potentially ever commission art on public property, I feel like that should go through the Arts Commission in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, so we have a unofficial official policy at this point in time that any piece, regardless of the agency, any public art piece is reviewed either by the commission first and then additionally reviewed by whatever city agency or board needs to review it. So like the Dancing Girl, for example, it came to you guys first. You guys said, you know, yes, we want this. No, we don't want this. And then that recommendation goes to a committee of the Common Council, depending where it's going to go, usually Parks and Rec and Cultural Affairs. If they say, yay, we love this, we want it as well, it'll go to council. And that's when council will execute the contract to where we'll be able to get the piece. So anything that's going to be installed new or donated, that's kind of the process we would go through. And that's what we do for this process as well. So it starts and is birthed here. But then I'll take the proposal that we have in place for when we spend the funds. And then that's when we'll go to a common council committee and then full council.
Right on.
Hey Sabrina, this is Melissa. I drove by the area that we're referencing. There are a couple of spots that'll actually need to be repaired before we do this, just FYI. So we want to have the city come look at it because there's missing concrete panel or missing concrete like patches that would need to be repaired. I'm happy to go out with them and show them.
Yeah, I'll mention it to Jess because we're having the conversation now of if DPW is capable of repairing the wall or if we have to contact the state to come out and do it. And we also have to ask the state if we can power wash the wall because we want to do that before anybody gets out there to paint. We'd rather, you know, just our team do it rather than put that on the artist. So we're having that conversation now, but thank you for flagging that some of the pieces are damaged. I did see some cracks when I went out there myself. So I'm aware that some of it's messed up, but we're navigating that now. So we should figure that out before the artist actually gets out there.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, Brian, take it away.
Yeah. So I'm also not introducing these artists' work with the exception of Heidi. I think everyone has actually already seen their work. But just as a reminder, These artists are world class. We are honored to have them even submit. So let me open this up, Ernesto, and I'll let you and Hillary take it away. Let me just full screen this bad boy. Maybe not.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So my name is Hillary. I'm Ernesto's.
There we go.
wife. Oh,
How's that? See it?
yes.
Okay. I have your budget here too. If you, we'll kind of walk through that a little bit too. We don't need to go into crazy detail, but.
Sounds good. So hi, everyone. I'm Hillary. I know I met a lot of you last time, and
Hello, I'm Ernesto. A pleasure.
Sunny, as you guys know, is from South Africa, so their time difference is large. So I think they're sleeping now. So we'll carry on going through the proposal.
And thank everyone so much for the process. It was amazing to get selected, and
Yeah, we're so excited.
very excited.
Thank you. So do you want to go through the thing, or?
Sure.
Okay, so after looking at the call, we saw you guys were looking for something that really ties to the city. So we did a little research after Ernesto and Sunny kind of chatted about submitting the proposal together. They went ahead and made the city slogan the focus of the long wall to make use of, how long it is. And then we played on the word sound. So Norwalk, the sound of Connecticut. We played on the word sound by incorporating the state animal, which is a sperm whale. Sperm whales communicate through clicking. So right around the word sound, you and Sunny included a sperm whale. Do you want to speak to that at all?
I just found the animal pretty fascinating when I was doing the research, and that ticking noise is just something kind of surreal. Just how do you say, like, complex they think it's a language that could pretty much be more complex than ours. It covers about 2,000 miles. They can communicate with another whale, and they kind of hold us at their mercy when we dive with them, and we still dive when they're around. So they can burst our eardrums and pretty much vibrate us to death if they decide to tick right next to us. So I found out all that information pretty interesting, and just how resilient these whales are and how deep they dive with the liquid they have in their forehead. That becomes kind of like a weight, and they just dive very deep, and they fight the giant squid. So I thought it would be the whale's gonna cover, I would say, like 40 to 80 feet. We still have to get to the wall to see how each of these animals will fit in the actual wall. But I'm thinking 40 to 80 feet long. So that's a lot of room to really play with the texture of the whale. So within the animals, there'll be a lot of nuances, and we can just play around and have a great time painting, really.
And then they also included a couple of native birds. So the robin is the state bird. We can play with the idea of incorporating the robin, and just we'd like to chat with you guys and see what birds really speak to the residents. But obviously birds sing and communicate, so that also kind of plays on the sound idea.
Merging the marine animal with the avian birds, and just a lot of organic elements, just taking you through the path of the wall. Transitions of colors, of elements, and with the words being a big focus also.
Just so everyone knows this, they have these backward, but I think everybody gets the idea of what's going on.
Cool.
And then there's some details as well. And just to remind everyone, Sunny works in sort of a very expressive, well, both of them work very expressively, and Sunny works very expressively, kind of slinging a lot of paint using the texture of the materials. And Ernesto, incorporates a lot heavily detailed, flora into these animals that make up these compositions. That's sort of the gist. I'm going to click through the budget unless anyone wants to see anything else quickly, or has any initial questions for Ernesto or Hillary.
Brian, I think what might be helpful, because both of these artists had presented previously, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So because this is a sketch, and I'm pretty sure I remember both artists, but it might be helpful to us to reference the more elaborate sketches that they had done to get a sense of their work.
Yeah. I'll pull up Sunny's website here quickly, so you guys can see, just as a quick reminder, and then I'll pull up Ernesto's after that. Quick reminder of the complexity of his work. Let's see. I'll probably have to stop sharing and reshare here. Give me just a moment.
I just want to say, as you do that, what I love about this idea is kind of like the antithesis of what the Vines, what many people had complained about the Vines, is that the Vines made a statement, but nobody understood it. This is taking something that's an idea, a central theme of Norwalk as a city, and making it very overt and very, it's very expressive and verbally. I really like that.
This is Sunny's work, as a quick reminder. Heavily detailed, along with super expressive abstractions, texture, color, etc.
Right. I remember this. This is awesome. Awesome work.
Wait, am I spelling your name right?
Yeah.
No, that's not right.
It's Maranje.
There it is. Damn, white boy. So.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so Ernesto's is made up of these. Obviously they work in very similar. So it's a very similar subject matter, but the styles are quite different, but I think a lot of overlap. And I know I was very excited to see, first off, Ernesto's name popped up on the application, and then when I saw it was both of them, I was pretty pumped.
Awesome.
So yeah, quick refresher of their work. Let me
you.
pull up the budget here while anyone else has anything else to comment.
Just a question on the time frame. Do you have a time frame that you were looking at for installation? Like how long it would take you to, put it on the wall?
Yeah, I think we came to the 1 month.
Yeah, about a month.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
So this budget, I think I've already identified a few things in here that I think we could probably start to eliminate. Right at the front, Sabrina already mentioned potentially having public works or city staff, or even volunteers or something, doing the pressure washing and potentially even the priming. So that right there at $25,000 would likely eliminate some work that they don't have to do. The permits here, I'm not sure we're going to need lane closure for this, but that's TBD. There are some sort of extra expensive, for instance, I have a giant paint sprayer, so that's not something that's going to need to be rented. And I'm just kind of slowly gonna go through here so you guys can see. I think pretty much everything else on here is pretty standard stuff. I do want to make a point here. Sorry, I'm just going to scroll to the bottom. I know some of you are reading. One of the big reasons they were one of two proposals that actually listed local help in their proposal. I appreciate that they would be reaching out to the creative community here. And this isn't just people from out of town coming in and trying to take our money. So I want to make note of that line item as well. Again, not necessarily needed to be nitpicked right now, with the exception of some of these like big obvious ones. But if anyone has any questions or would like further explanation into any of these line items, please ask.
I will just a comment on the lane closure. We won't need to close a lane except for the underpass on the Sono Mall side, so on the actual entrance side. The state is actually going to be doing some utility work. So we're hoping that we can line up their closure with the installation so that we won't have to have that expense So it'll just already be closed and you guys can work the same time that they're working since they'll be on the road itself and you guys won't be. So you should be all set there. But just wanted to flag that for you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Brett, can you flash back up that first slide that shows the whole mural like in lines?
Of course.
Yeah, that one. So Ernesto, we love the work. I'm on the infrastructure, so I was part of the selection. I think the whale's the strongest visual, and I understand the birds and the communication. The contrast between the whale and the background to me like really stands out. I'd love to see maybe just a little bit more of that because I think the birds maybe get a little bit lost. So I understand this is just a sketch, a rough, but I do like the whale, and I don't know if you can incorporate another whale or something else, but I just like the way that color, that gray against the peach, like really contrasts. And I thought maybe the birds look like they blend a little bit too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the whale too. And if we could do another one, that would maybe look good, but it seems like a focal point, but it's a very long wall. So seems like we could have a couple other things. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And Sabrina had already mentioned offline about potentially not using this slogan. And again, I don't necessarily want to get hung up on that tonight. That is an easy edit for us to make down the road if we decide that we want to see something else there, or maybe something a little bit less specific. Not that we have to lose the concept of the communication and sound and things like that, but I do want to, before someone starts sitting with that.
Yeah, that was one of our concerns, especially since we're kind of slowly rebranding the city at the moment. The slogan may stay or may not, I don't know. But that's going to have to be, kind of a thing to keep in mind is like, what if we do change it in 5 years type of deal? So that was one of my concerns and Jess's concerns as well. But again, something we can definitely, talk about and change or not change. But definitely have to take that into consideration and bring it up with the mayor's office and council and all that fun stuff if we wanted to proceed with it forward.
I do think this work stands on its own without the text as well. If this ends up being this thing to get hung up on with what to say, we have 1,000 feet to say something, that maybe just gets eliminated and we just really focus on the concept without saying it.
Yeah, I actually think the letters there, it's just a lot. It seems to have a really strong presence. And I don't mind a slogan, but this seems to just have a really strong presence. And I really like the artwork better.
I think there's also the possibility of, just simply putting Norwalk at, either end or choosing an end. So you sort of see it on your way in and
Right.
just sort of announcing where you are, or even in the center. So you can see it when you're on 95 or on that ramp to 7. And then maybe that's it. Maybe that's all we need. So
Can you go Norwalk, Connecticut?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So
I think that's where we were leaning internally as well. Not necessarily removing the lettering completely, but maybe just making it something simpler where we don't have the full slogan, but something that's never going to change, like the city of Norwalk,
Yeah, maybe that's a good
the city of Norwalk.
Yeah, the city of Norwalk.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
There's something nice about the visuals kind of weaving in around the typography.
Yeah.
I think Heidi's raising her hand.
Like the type just get lost completely. I'd rather.
Heidi has her hand up. I think she has a question. Heidi, you can feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I'm staying muted because my 5-year-old is quite chatty.
No worries.
I was just curious if you guys had thought about the yellow finch, like the American goldfinch. They're native to Connecticut, and they're really, really pretty, and they sing songs.
Okay, thank you.
That color contrast would be nice too.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we're looking at scrapping or changing and not doing the sound of Connecticut, maybe do whales on each side of Norwalk, since we like the whales so much.
Yeah, I think there's multiple ways that we can, make this work, but for our purposes for the grant, this is perfect. I think the main part of them seeing kind of what we're doing is not only to, be able to support it on their end, but also from a financing standpoint, kind of what they're paying for and what they're getting for their money. So this will be perfect for us. And thank you for, Brian, thank you 100,000 times over. I couldn't have done this myself. So I appreciate you so much. But also the infrastructure committee and all of you guys, and obviously Ernesto and your team and Sunny as well for turning it around so quickly and putting this together for us. I really appreciate it.
Good to see. Thank you.
So Sabrina, is this something we need to vote on? What are the sort of next steps on this?
Yeah, so you guys would vote, the motion would be to approve Ernesto and Sunny as the selected artists for the West Avenue underpass, essentially. So Mark, if you want to say something along those lines and then ask for a motion, and then we can vote on it.
Yeah, so we're approving the artist, not necessarily the final design.
Right.
Correct. So it's just the artist so that we can move forward with that grant proposal.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Just humor me for 2 seconds. I just wanted to say, I didn't want to interrupt Heidi before, but I think everybody had some really good points. Along with the, I like the fact that there's the whale is a sort of recognized as a part of our culture as an animal, and the bird, the robin, American robin, is our state bird. I think there also is some state flowers and trees and other things that are, sort of indigenous to our area on a natural level that could be incorporated. So anyway, having said that, I'll move on and say I'm really happy with the selection of both of these artists. I think they're both really super talented, and I really appreciate their interest here, and I'm happy to call for a motion to approve their selection.
This is Melissa. I'll make a motion.
Awesome. Melissa, thank you so much. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that, Bob Abriola.
Okay, awesome. Then in that case, I'm gonna vote wholeheartedly aye. And I'm going to ask Brian if he'll weigh in on a vote.
Aye, absolutely aye.
Elizabeth Tardif.
You're muted.
I'm muted.
No, you're not muted.
Aye, Elizabeth.
Aye, yes, yeah.
Okay, Stephen Rust.
Steve Rust, aye.
Okay, Nori Gruden.
Aye.
Yeah, I just wanted the chair wants to acknowledge Nori Gruden being here, a present voting member. Was not here when we did the roll call, but welcome and thank you for your vote.
Oh, you're welcome.
Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Heidi Alterman.
Aye.
Okay, Bob Abriola.
Aye.
Ava Jacobs.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes carry unanimously. I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, let me know.
Awesome.
Awesome. So the ayes carry. Before we move on, Brian, I think in the last meeting in the agenda, we said we talked about incorporating lighting into this design. Maybe think about that in terms of your budget, unless we could get the city or state to pay for it in a different way.
Good call.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will powwow with Ernesto and Sunny offline to do any quick revisions we need before the grant application goes in with Sabrina, and yeah, keep moving.
Great.
Thank you, Ernesto and Hillary, for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.
You don't need to watch us hash out budget committees and stuff. You guys can bounce.
Thank you all so much.
everyone.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, in that case, let's kick it over to Nori for a budget update.
Sabrina, do you want to do the budget update? Because I'm not exactly sure. I don't think we have to worry about you're getting a grant, correct, for those murals?
Yep.
And then we just have, I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
Yeah, so I can talk about, I'll talk about the operating budget first. So you'll see we'll have some fun, we have some funding left over as we discussed last time. We have about $3,000. Just to flag it for you guys, I'm rolling in other operating supplies and other contracted services all into business expenses. I don't really know why those were separated out in the first place. But it'll give us a little bit more flexibility of what we can spend the money on. I know Mark's going to spend some of this money for some of the galleries that we have in City Hall. Heidi had mentioned we wanted to do kind of a student installation in City Hall as well. So we do have some funding for printing and all that fun stuff that we might come by. I did buy the hanging systems that were approved by the building department. They were only like $250 for like 50 of them. So we have a ton of them. I wanted to grab them while they were on sale. So that's already out of the budget. And it was super cheap, way less than we expected it to be. So we're really good on that front. So we have, printing budget that we can use. The other professional services is obviously for our social media consultants. We have some advertising dollars as well. This is what we use for like the Nice Festival sponsoring and those types of things. So if there's anything, that money for that. The $100 will come out when we pay for our annual Cultural Alliance membership. And then that's operating budget side.
So Sabrina, from the printing and duplicating, I don't have a quote yet from G-Way for the printing for the Mayor's Gallery stuff. But if there's any balance from that, maybe we'll be able to do some other stuff with the second half of the People's Gallery. If not, then we certainly have the hanging system for the new fiscal year, obviously. But
yeah, sorry guys, my internet is not being the best. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So my internet had poor connection, but I think I'm back. I also asked in the budget for this coming year, $10,000 extra for operational costs to take on a part-time person for when we have these large mural installations going on, sort of like a project manager. So they'll be able to kind of manage the payments that everybody's going to receive and also be on site in case anything goes kind of awry. They'll be able to do that and deal with that. We'll see if that gets approved. It went over favorably thus far. So really excited about that addition to hopefully increase our budget as well. And this is kind of where Nori was inkling towards. So this is the amount of money that we have left for the Arts and Public Places program. So we still have the Monroe Street Bridge that's going to take, $50,000 to $60,000 out of here, which will leave us probably with around $20,000 to $30,000 left. We can use that for the upcoming proposal for the West Avenue wall, but there is, like I said, a $200,000 request in the next budget to cover the entire cost of this mural installation, so that if we don't get the grant, we'll still be able to do the project. But we'll probably have to be able to kind of raise some funding to meet the gap if we aren't funded for this program in the significant amounts that we asked for. But I am, doing the due diligence on that. The council members that have received the budget package and the planning and zoning commissions that have received the budget package and the mayor's office has all seen the justification that includes kind of the cost that we were looking at for this mural. So that'll be the additional ask here for the next year upcoming. We did want to, I can update you a little bit on the state process. I've escalated it so that the mayor and Bob Duff have been reaching out on our behalf to DOT since they've not been responsive to us. So I'm hoping we get a response in the coming months. And then hopefully not have this problem when we're doing the huge wall on West Ave as well. So if anybody has any questions on the budget, that is the only update.
Is finding money that, I don't want to say it sounds like so easy. We're not talking about a small amount of money, so you know, it's great if we don't get funded by the grant and we can get that money. It just seems like a lot to be able to pull together.
So it's not an easy process by any means. I have to, all of us, all city staff has to present their budgets through multiple groups, including the full council, including the Board of Estimate, and the mayor's office and the finance department. So it's a long process. We started this, in November at this point. And not saying that it's an easy thing to get funded, but we don't have many requests compared to a lot of other departments. DPW, TMP, they have, slews of like 23 to 50 requests sometimes. So when we come in for one specific project, not that we have higher chances, it's really just the support that we have, from folks on our commission. Like Heidi can go and say, hey, this is something that, the Arts Commission has been working on that we're really in support of. We hope you can fund it. And this is kind of, where that council representation comes in. It's not, an easy thing to ask for $200,000. But if it's something that, the public wants and that council wants and that the commission wants, that's kind of where that political side comes in to hopefully get us what we need to do the project.
Would we be competing against other departments for money? Like, does it go towards repairing the schools, or can we get it for artwork?
I mean, it's not really it's a competition, but it's not. I mean, it happens every year. That's kind of how the process works. But yeah. And it's not like there's a set. So council and the BOE has a recommended budget from our CFO, but they can choose to fund and not fund whatever they want. And what they're representing the public, obviously. So they can choose to fund or not fund something or partially fund something. So it's not really a competition in the truest sense, but because there's not like a set number that they're working off of to kind of fill the gaps. So it's not like our CFO says, we're only spending $500 million. He's saying, fund what you want, and then we'll try to be as low of an increase so that we're not increasing taxes, as significantly as, we don't want to ever increase taxes too significantly. So that's how it kind of works.
Okay.
But I don't think we've ever seen this much support for the arts and public art from the city of Norwalk ever. Not since I've been in Norwalk, only 12 years for myself, but the amount of support across the board. I mean, Sabrina, you would agree with that, right? I'm sure.
I would 100% agree. And I will say last year was the first time that not only council members, but members of the public had comments at the council meetings that they joined and said, I'm 100% in support of doing the Arts in Public Places program, but why isn't there more funding? So it's great when you can get people to say those things, because that's when you see your budgets, get passed, is that we're really they're seeing things that we've done already. They're seeing the success they've had. They're seeing the media they draw. They see, the improvements to their neighborhood, and they come out and they're like, wow, we need to do more of this. So we're getting that support from a lot of angles, which we weren't really getting before. So it's really exciting to see, and really, really positive for us as well.
Sabrina?
Sure.
Are we able to pull with say redevelopment and say we're looking for 200,000, but we're only getting 150? Would they give money towards a project that
there's potential there? There's potential there. The redevelopment agency, I'm not sure of their funding circumstance as of right now, but there's a possibility for that. If the Arts and Cultural District legislation passes through council, which I'm hoping will happen, don't quote me on this, but hopefully in March, hopefully in March or April, sometime in spring, then the commission, as the Arts and Cultural Commission, will be able to solicit donations, which we can't currently do in our current capacity.
Mhm.
So hopefully also at that time, we'll be allowed to ask for private donations and public donations to support, a gap that we might have.
Sabrina, is that simply a matter of the ordinance that backs the commission in terms of our principles and guidelines?
Correct. So we are going next month to the ordinance committee with the proposed geography, which is essentially Wall Street, West Avenue, and South Norwalk, so our entire urban core, and the draft ordinance language,
Mhm.
which doesn't differ very much from what we currently have. Just a few other things that get added in there, like we can have members that are, on a board or part of an institution and they don't necessarily have to be a Norwalk resident. They could be on a board of a Norwalk institution and live somewhere else. So we can kind of grab people from, the Norwalk art space and places that we've wanted to grab from that we can't because people aren't, residents of Norwalk. So it changes a little bit of like nitpicky things, but it's not that drastic. So I think it'll be okay going through, and it shouldn't take many meetings to work out the kinks on it.
Well, the main thing is that we would have a framework for being able to raise additional funds that we couldn't raise now.
Yeah, that's the main benefit of having that cultural district, is that we can not only ask for funds, but we can apply for grants separately as well. Not as a city, but more as like a private group that's doing this for a specific project.
Mm-hmm. That's all good news.
Awesome. I think we can move on. I'm all set unless anybody has additional questions.
Okay. With the communications committee, no real news except that the project that I started with Ava is moving forward as far as the Mayor's Gallery. The theme now is was about musicians born in Norwalk of note, and we've created a group of musicians that's pretty diverse. It ranges everything from jazz and classical to even hip hop. And it's a diverse group, and it's musicians of history as well as some in the present. And the concept that I'm going with is Made in Norwalk. As I realize that it's not just about musicians born in Norwalk, but for every musician of note that was ever born in Norwalk, they were made here too. They were raised by parents who supported the arts, and they were raised in an education system that supported the arts, and that's how those musicians came into being. So that's what the concept is, and we are basically we're going to be taking historical photographs of these artists. They're going to be printed on canvas, so going to kind of give it an arty vibe, and that's going to be hung in the Mayor's Gallery. And then we've also created QR codes that when you scan the QR code, it's going to open up an MP3 of some of the artists.
Great. That's great, Mark.
And we're hoping to get that installed. We're going to be printing it locally, and we're hoping to get that installed in the beginning of February, the second week of February. And I'm looking to have a small reception. I wrote to Sally with the mayor's office looking for a potential date when he would be able to attend. So it'll probably be a weeknight, something like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, looking for hopefully the third week of February. And that's all I really have in terms of news. The Art Speaks event, I've been talking to a number of people about them getting involved. I've got a commitment from David Green from the Culture Alliance, and I've got a commitment from Latoya Fernandez, who is she's the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director for the City of Norwalk. They're both going to be available for us. And that's really all the news that I have from my committee side. Infrastructure, Brian, do you have anything else to update us on outside of the mural project?
No, it was just this, and Sabrina already mentioned that DOT is giving us the cold shoulder on the Monroe Street. So hopefully we'll hear from them soon, now that, you know, holidays and end of the year has passed. But nothing else there, sadly. I think we should just show up and paint it.
So Sabrina, I know that you said that that the mayor and Senator Duff are both hopefully going to help us out there. I don't know if Stephanie Thomas can do anything, but she's a super passionate supporter of Norwalk Arts.
Yeah, we'll see how far we get with who we have right now. Jess is also tied to DOT for other things, so I'm hoping that, you know, one of them will get a response at some point in time, but I've called and emailed them probably at this point, like at least 12 emails and 12 calls. So it's clearly not working. So we're hoping that one of the three of them, either Jess, the mayor, or Bob Duff, will get a response.
Well, some of the issue lies in the fact that they're apparently changing how they approach artwork on DOT property, probably because they're seeing newly sparked interest. And I think that started in Bridgeport, is now trickling down to the cities. And it's sort of tough to tell what they're trying to do, but I think they're just trying to reevaluate how they approach it. Hopefully that won't really get in their way. We'll see.
Okay. Okay, the only other thing for infrastructure, we had talked back in November on about the potentially putting the Dancing Girl in Peters Art Park opposite the Vines. Was there any news on that or any updates on that?
The Dancing Girl has been the bane of my existence for the past year, but
Yeah.
We finally have an improved contract in place. And the last piece of this is that we have to pay to relocate the statue. I'm currently in the process of getting quotes from multiple companies per the city's procurement process to see who can move the piece for the cheapest. And then it will be relocated from Kent. You know, it's at a Webster Bank currently in Kent. And it will be delivered to the art park. Hopefully as soon as possible after I get the quotes back. So I got one quote back today. I'm waiting on 2 others. And then we can officially move the piece and it'll be ours.
Yeah. So maybe we want to think about, I don't know, I know you have your hurdles to get through, but maybe we want to think about like a ribbon cutting for that when that actually happens.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, and the only other thing, I think this would fall under infrastructure. Was there any update on the public education project that we discussed that was going to be that came from Heidi Alterman originally, I believe.
The fence one.
So there's 2. So I'll give you an update on both. So Heidi's still interested in doing a student installation in the People's Gallery.
Okay.
So that's definitely something we can work with her on. And they actually just chose the high school artists of the year or something like that. I think that was just published on like the city social media. So we could potentially reach out for those contacts to be able to just put those pieces there if we wanted, or if we wanted to curate something separate, we can certainly do that as well. So we need to wrap our arms around that a little bit more. Heidi's willing to make the school connections that we need to be able to do that. Also, the People's Gallery can stay the way it is. We have more space there now. So if you wanted to additionally add things instead of removing what's there and changing it out, we can certainly do that as well. We have all those new hanging systems. So we can also do like a children's People's Gallery and add like a different hallway of City Hall in if we wanted to. So there's a couple options there that you guys can mull over and let me know how you want to proceed forward, but I'm happy to make the connections moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's great because I knew that the People's Gallery had the wall space had expanded. As far as implementing that with this student artwork, do you think there would be any other cost to that we need to factor in?
I don't think so. I think it's just the normal, printing on whatever material we want. And then our building management team is who will install the hanging systems and the pieces for us. So,
Okay, good to know.
yeah. And then basically from building management, they said to me, if it's not, you know, an ADA accessibility issue, or it's not like covering up something important, like a, you know, a fire extinguisher or something like that, or a door, then they don't really care where we hang things. They already approved the mechanism, so we can put things wherever we want as long as it makes sense.
Okay, so offline, maybe we want to talk about if anybody wants to be a curator for that, to sort of you know, as far as that, where and how we hang that student art. I think that'd be terrific.
And then the second update on the Ely Ave fence stuff. So we're definitely going to we're not necessarily sure if we're going to involve the schools or just the community in general. But at this point, we are currently getting pricing for material to either go over the fencing or be slotted into the fencing, so that it's like really shielding what's behind the fence itself. But then those, whatever the covering is going to be, or the slats, we're going to take those and put them in a central location where either students, community members, artists, whoever it is, can come and, like, you know, paint on it or do whatever they want. And then we'll install it, as the city will install it back on the fence. So the intricacies of that are still being worked out, but the first thing is getting a priced material. So that's what stage we're at this moment in time.
And then the cost for that would come through, would we have to vote on that, or would that come from you guys?
It's coming from, we received a grant for the MLK corridor, so it's coming out of that money. I think it's under economic community development, technically.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's not our money, but we'll probably be asked to help kind of wrap our arms around the, you know, process and all that fun stuff. So.
All righty.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for the updates, Brian. Overall, I appreciate that. Was there any other old business that we had to touch on? I think we hit most of the items now in that last section.
Mark, we talked in the past about all the records of the art within Norwalk, right? We talked about potentially paying someone to catalog it. And I know we haven't really been talking about it the last few meetings. So I think that's an important topic to put on the agenda, maybe going forward. And then the other thing, I know we do social media and we pay Michelle to do a little bit of that work, but I do feel like there's more that we can do from a communication, like an outreach communication. And maybe it's an employee, it's a funded staff member of Norwalk that helps us. You know, I don't think it's volunteer work, like we really have to put money towards it. So whether we pay an independent person or just do more, because the posting on Instagram is fine, but I feel like there could be a greater role for communication and in the arts within Norwalk. And there's just so much going on that we're either missing or we're not reporting on, or we're not communicating back to the community that we could do better.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, if you do you want to come to a communications meeting, we could set up a meeting offline. I agree with you completely. I think we could come up with a game plan for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, invite me to the next one and let's talk through it. We have so much great art and that's going on and events that are going on, and it's almost like we're the last to know on some of these things. So we should be the ones kind of like bringing it to the forefront. So it just is going to take time and effort. So yeah, invite me to the next one. Let's talk through it.
I don't disagree. I really say this all the time, and I want to sound like a broken record, but I feel like the Norwalk arts community and the art scene, it is so much bigger than we all realize it is. People who are in it don't even realize how big it is, because when you start looking outside of, like, we're all in our sort of artistic bubbles, like if you're in art or you're in music, then there's dance and there's poetry. I mean, there's just, you start getting into all these other mediums of art and arts, and you realize that the the art community of Norwalk is massive,
Massive.
massive.
I mean, the
Yeah.
music alone, you could have someone reporting on that. The visual arts, it's endless.
Yeah, no doubt.
We can make a name for ourselves and put ourselves more on the map if we're the place that people want to go to find out about the arts. We should be.
Well, how does
Yeah.
that work with the Cultural Alliance? Because they kind of, that's their role, right? They do it for all of Fairfield County, but how would we
No.
like
Well,
extract
hold on.
that? Norwalk?
The Cultural Alliance, you have to be a member, and then they'll post they're not going to promote anything that just for free. They don't do that. That's a paid service. So
I think we are members though.
no,
We are
we
members.
are.
Yeah,
We are, but you have to say that there is overlap, but they're
there is
concerned with the entire county. And
right.
I'm also for supporting art in Westport, but my focus is Norwalk. So
No, I think that Norwalk should be separate, and I don't know why we would need to have a membership there if we were focused on a sort of a publication or whatever it is, that's something similar to what they do. I mean, I'm just saying as a model, they do it already, and why not just make it a Norwalk one instead of,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I like the Cultural Alliance. I think that they do provide a lot of resources. I like being able to, I go to their events, I go to their meetings, and David Green is a supporter of what we do here. And like, he always involves the Norwalk Arts Commission and in his events. I think it does promote Norwalk to be involved with the Cultural Alliance. I just see it as like, in as much as I try to get involved with the arts on the state level, sometimes I wish the Arts Commission could be my full-time job because I enjoy it so much. There's just the networking outside of Norwalk. I think is so important for us because the more state awareness that we create for what's happening here in Norwalk, the more it highlights what we're doing.
Well, could the Cultural Alliance give us a page of our own or some kind of, specific, they just like I said, they do it for everybody broadly, but could the Norwalk Arts Commission have their own sort of space on there?
Well, they have a website. Like maybe the solution is why maybe we have our own website, not a link to this through the city. Like we have a separate website that people go to, and we can talk through that. I mean, I think there's some good things with the Cultural Alliance, but there's other parts of it where, it's all funded, and I don't want to talk about it in the thing, but yeah, I think, why don't you invite me, and maybe Liz, are you on the communication committee? Maybe you go to that too.
Yeah, I don't think I'm on it. Am I on it, Mark?
I think you are officially. I would like, we need to then have it, we should have a
schedule.
regular meeting.
I don't see it.
Let's
I don't
schedule
see
something.
any invitations or anything.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah. But I'd like to be on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
we have a real
let's-
opportunity with this new college in August, like bringing that into with a whole conservatory based like arts learning and an art hub, like expand. And they're super, because they're our next door neighbors at work. So I've talked to I don't know if he's the artistic director, but him frequently, like every day, and he's really wanting to get involved in like Norwalk and the city and the community. So
we've discussed him joining the Arts Commission. He's
Awesome.
definitely interested.
He's
I
really
think he's a Norwalk resident now, right?
I believe so. I know he moved here for the conservatory. I don't know if he's like officially moved.
Sabrina, you know him, right? Is Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's expressed interest in the past. I don't know if that's been explored on your side.
His resumes with the mayor's office, I think we're just pausing until the arts and cultural stuff goes through.
Yeah.
Because then we have to like disband and reappoint everybody anyways.
Mhm.
So they're waiting for all the reappointments at once.
Right. So I
Yeah,
think on the
there's
communication side.
opportunity there to
No, I agree with you. I think on the communication side, that's the whole point of, I've been pushing for it for, I don't know, it's going on 7 years with the cultural, essentially establishing an arts and cultural district in the city of Norwalk. Because what it does is it drives awareness for the city of Norwalk as an artistic city, on a state level. It drives not just awareness for the arts, but really cultural tourism in general, on a state level. And I feel like that's a really big, there's a lot to that when it comes to communications, communicating what Norwalk has to offer, not just as a city of art and the arts, but opportunities for artists, see in Norwalk as not, we enjoy a quality of life here that's around the arts, but we want artists to see Norwalk as a place where artists have opportunities. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for what we communicate to the city, the state, and to the world about Norwalk, Connecticut. So it is a huge topic of conversation. I definitely think we should talk about it offline, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and is there any potential that we would be meeting in person at any point? Either on the communication or this group? No?
Me personally, I would love that, but
Mark and I work within like 2 feet of each other. So
you see, I mean, it's so much
so
better
it's
when you
really
see people in person, and this is, I mean, it's more convenient, I guess, but what is the reason that we're still doing Zoom?
We're never going to stop doing Zoom, but we can do hybrids.
Why
will-
why will we not stop?
Because we're getting more community engagement with Zoom. So we will always have a Zoom option.
even in something like this where there's not
Yeah,
necessarily
it's only like 5 people or 6 people.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're still open to public participation.
Yes.
we ever
So
had-
like 50 people could randomly try to attend the meeting at one time if they so chose. So we're always open for the public.
So have we ever had people from the public participate in these meetings
Yeah, before I was a voting member.
before you were voting?
Yeah.
He came to one and then he was a member by the next meeting.
Hey, more than one. Give me a break.
I think it was
I
two.
remember when it was in person.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
you're saying we could be in person, but then we could have the Zoom like
Correct.
open.
Yeah.
So we'll always have a Zoom option, but you guys can meet if we want to switch to in-person half hybrid, we can choose to do that, but it has to be, approved and all that fun stuff. But I can do that if that's what you guys want, but we always will have a Zoom option.
And if they
Yeah.
were in person, would they be at the city hall?
Yes, there has to be, it doesn't have to be at City Hall, but it has to be a designated location that's accessible for every meeting. So it's not like we can like choose different locations,
Yeah.
which I
it's
would
funny 'cause
prefer,
we
but
used to do that. I don't know when that changed or how the rules may have changed, but there was a time under Susan Wallerstein where we were having each month's meeting was in a different location in Norwalk, and they would
yeah,
do
we
it
have to meet ADA accessibility requirements and disability requirements. So
Yeah, we were meeting at different art, like,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
the different places, like we went to the Contemporary Print Museum. We had a meeting there. We had one once Fodor Farm was completed, just to see different places, one of the theater, Wall Street Theater when it first opened. So we're just seeing the different venues that were available.
It was fun for a while. I remember the feeling like, well, we need to get out of City Hall and see what Norwalk has to offer in the arts. And then once we were doing that, I was thinking, wow, we got to get back to City Hall and get down to business.
Yeah, we went to Spag once. It was nice just seeing what people had to offer, the different things for the community, and they got to talk about the stuff. But Zoom is also nice too when you're running late and you want to get home and
Right.
you're here and the weather's bad. I mean, it hasn't snowed, but that's another option too. Both.
I have to also admit, with having little kids, it's much easier.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I second that motion.
Mhm.
Fair enough. Well, we could talk about a hybrid in the future. I definitely miss meeting in person, but I want to do what's best for the group.
I gotta jump off soon. Are we almost done? Yeah.
Okay,
We have nothing else on the agenda, so.
okay. In that case, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, duly noted. Is there a second on that?
I second that motion.
Okay, I'll vote to adjourn. And Brian, want to vote
Aye,
again?
let's get out of here.
Elizabeth?
Me? Let's
Yes.
go. Let's go. Yes.
Still need your vote, even though you motioned, we still need your vote.
Okay. Yes, let's
Listen,
go.
I only want to stay. It's okay. You can stay all night. Stephen Rust?
Aye.
Nice to hear from you, Stephen. Ava Jacobs,
Hi.
Bob Abriella,
Aye.
Nora Gruden,
I.
Melissa Matuska. All right, guys, have it. So good night, everybody. I appreciate you, all your hard work as always.
Good night. Thank you.
Night.